melt this when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Georgetown coach Dave Nolan, whose Hoyas just won their first NCAA game in double overtime or double extra time. I don't know how the colleges call it, but they got by Old Dominion and they advanced to the round of 32. Coach, congratulations! Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, the overtime rule has totally changed. I mean, we've done away with regular season overtime, which used to be 2 10-minute golden goal periods. And now it's just 2 10-minute periods, which kind of almost defeats the purpose of, we did away with overtime because people were talking about there was just too much additional soccer being played. But, you know, not every overtime game went to the second period. Not every overtime game, you know, went that full extra 20 minutes. But now in the tournament, we're going to 2 10 minutes regardless of a goal or not. So just another different way of playing soccer the way the NCAA wants us to play soccer.
Just another way to confuse people, because I think after the first overtime or extra period, some people thought the game was over. Right? There was a little bit of confusion on the field there. And I thought it was over too. And so then I realized you guys had to play one more 10-minute period.
And it's very strange because you wouldn't have played, like we tied a number of games this year, 7 in all. And it's very strange to go from not playing overtime to playing overtime. And then with the new set of rules, even in terms of substitutions, you know, in previous years of overtime rules, a substitution meant once they come off, they were done for overtime. Whereas this was kind of more like a mini game. Whereas if they come off in the first half of overtime, they could go back in the second half of overtime. You know, so we just keep moving the old salt cellars around the desk, around the table. You know, it's like, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, I was a little confused because every level has different substitution rules. And in the second half, you started folks that came off the bench for you in the first half. And usually coaches do that because you only have one sub in the second half. So usually the folks that start are the ones that finish. So usually if you keep the folks in at halftime.
Oh, it's actually the regular season overtime rules haven't changed. There's no re-entry for any player in the first half, but in the second half, they're allowed one re-entry. So you could start someone in the second half, take them off and bring them back on, but you couldn't do that in the first half.
Okay. Yeah. Well, coach, let me reintroduce you for folks that haven't watched my interview with you last year. You're a native of Ireland. Your first love was Gaelic football.
Gaelic football, yeah.
Yeah, and end up playing goalie, and one day you found out you were undersized goalie. So maybe you're not going to make the pro academies. Your favorite Liverpool team, but you came to Seton Hall. Had a couple real good years at Seton Hall. And then you got into coaching, ended up being assistant at Georgetown for 5 years, took the job. You've been there for 20 years. I think you won the last 4 Big East in a row, 7 of 8. You've been to 12 NCAA tournaments, 2 Final Fours. Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yeah, 12. This will be our 12th consecutive NCAA tournament.
Okay.
And I believe 14 in total.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been on a good run. Obviously, you know, winning 4 in a row in the conference championship was pretty special, and we made a little bit of history for that, which is kind of what I had kind of just reminded the girls of. Hey, you always want to leave things better than when you left, and in particular our senior group, I was at them to kind of, hey, here's a chance to do something we haven't done before. But to win 7 conference championships in the last 8 years is incredible, you know. And I think as a player, I think I have either 2 or 3 Big East championships.
Oh.
So I'm running out of fingers for rings.
You have more Big East than John Thompson has, Coach.
Yeah. Well, it's only proper because I'm actually in his office. I took over his office, so at least in this office, we're still adding Big East silverware to the trophy cabinet.
Is this office in his building? So when you walk by,
I took over his office in the old building.
Oh, the old building. Okay.
He's since moved into the athletic staff, or the basketball staff have moved into an incredible facility. But yeah, so I'm actually sitting in right now his old office when he was here back in all his glory of Hoya paranoia and all that went with that. Yeah, sometimes I'll have tourists when I want to pop in and have a look at his office, because it's the same office you'll see on ESPN's Requiem for the Big East.
Oh, what a great show
So
that
I
is.
have his rocking chair. So now and again, if I need to be inspired, I go sit in his rocking chair.
No, exactly right. Coach, when you were talking, well, I was at the game on Saturday. Great game, great weather, unbelievable
Yeah.
game. And I saw you walk to the men's room at halftime, down one goal. You look very relaxed, because I was trying to figure out what your frame of mind is. Is it a delicate balance to getting the women to play with some urgency without letting the panic set in? Is that a tough a balancing act when you're coaching a team in knockout?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we've been a funny kind of team this year in that we've started slow in too many games. And normally, it's not a problem when we play one of our tough games. Like we scored early against Stanford, we scored early against Virginia Tech, we scored early against Xavier in the Big East final. But in some of these other games, we're like slow starters, and we've always managed to dig ourselves out of a hole. So it's not like we were in a new situation. So, but over the season, we've actually become a very good second half team. And most people would kind of always ask me, even after like Sunday, for example, people would be asking me, "Oh my God, you must have gone in at halftime and been kicking chairs over and gone all Bobby Knight on them." And the answer is no, really haven't. We typically talk about a couple of tactical things we need to do a little bit better. And then we typically try and find something that will just spur a little bit of a reaction, and we had talked about that. Hey, we don't want to end our season losing a game on our home field. Yeah. And second half we come out, and I think second half we played really well. In the first half, I didn't think we were terrible. They just scored a really good goal off a free kick. They have a kid who's just a handful, and we knew she was, and we had trained for it, and we had prepared for it. We put our best kid on her, but give that kid credit. She just still found a way to get a head on the ball and score off a direct kick. But I think in the run of play, even in the first half, I think we hit the crossbar twice, and we had another couple of good moments. But then in the second half, I felt we were very dominant. I think the statistics was like 16 shots to 0 in the second half, and maybe I think 6 corner kicks to 1. So I felt once we got the equalizer, we would go on and win the game. So I didn't really feel that worried. I just felt we were playing well in the second half. But, you still need to see the ball hit the back of the net so you can relax. But we knew it was going to be a tough game. Old Dominion's a good program. I mean, they won their conference. Very well coached. Very well coached. Angie Hines does a really good job down there. And they had a couple of special players. And their Turkish midfielder in the middle of the field, Turkalu, was a very, very good player. But ultimately, we kept her reasonably quiet. Bar a couple of Rabona passes that she played to kind of get the crowd on their toes. But, she didn't really affect the game. And I do feel our wide players in particular just wore down their wide players. I mean, my 2 wide attackers, well, 3, Ali Winstanley, Maya Lardner, and Natalie Means, just eventually their fullbacks were just exhausted. They just couldn't keep running with them. And that's ultimately what happened for the winning goal. Maya got down the left flank, played a delightful cross in, and Natalie came in and finished it. So we were happy to get out there with the win. And now it's on to play St. Louis on Friday up at Penn State. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff. It's a St. Louis team that really has dominated the Atlantic 10 in much the same way we've dominated the Big East. They're probably a mirror image of us in that technically you would label our athletic departments mid-majors, but there's nothing mid-major about the St. Louis soccer program, and there's nothing mid-major about our soccer program. We would probably handle most Power 5 programs comfortably. So it's going to be a good game. And what's interesting is this St. Louis team has scored 69 goals on the season. That's a lot of goals. So we know we're going to have our work cut out. They hurt you in a variety of ways. They're two wide players, quick and pacey and run hard. Their centre forward, Emily Gaby, just is on an incredible scoring streak right now. Very difficult to play against. Strong, brave, good runner with the ball, and a really cool finisher. And they're also a team that's very dangerous on set pieces. They have a couple of kids that can get after the ball. So we're going to have to really be on top of our game for that.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to the St. Louis game. And I believe it was up in Pennsylvania. Is up at Penn State?
Yeah, it's up at Penn State.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to go. But before we get there, let's get back to the game again. Now, it's interesting to me because I agree that Old Dominion in the first 10, 15 minutes, it looked like they never had a shot on goal, but they had some interesting opportunities.
Yes,
and they were in the game. And by the second half, Maha was great, and the knock on to cross to finish was something that you'd see on Saturday mornings on Peacock or whatever. It was just an incredible goal. But even so, I felt that Natalie Means and Eliza Turner had all kinds of space in the second half. And I remember thinking, how can they have this much space in the second half? And it seemed like there was no space on the field in the first half. Is it just fatigue? I mean, what causes the halves to be so different like that?
Well, I think, obviously, Old Dominion coming up here, we're probably the best team they played this year. Mm-hmm. They were probably well up for it, whether we like to admit it or not, we're probably a scalp. So we're well prepared for that because in our own conference, we get everybody's best effort. I mean, I'll watch teams play in our conference, won't see much, and then we go play them, and all of a sudden it's like playing Liverpool. And I think we got that a little bit from Old Dominion. Their kids were well fired up, well pumped up. But it's hard to keep that momentum going if you don't have to keep it going all year round. So once that initial 10 or 15 minutes settled, then there really wasn't much in the first half other than their free kick goal, and we had a couple of dangerous corner kicks. But it's hard when you're not used to playing for 90 minutes against a team that's constantly asking questions of you. It's difficult for any team to maintain that level of, one, physical freshness, and two, mental awareness without sometimes just not having the energy or not recognizing the situation because you're fatigued. And in the second half, Natalie in particular got a ton of space, on the right side. Eliza all of a sudden had a ton of space running out of midfield, and we really started to open them up. And really, I don't think 2-1 flattered us. We probably 4-1 probably would have been a truer reflection on the game. But, again, games change, our goals change games, and getting that first goal changed it for us.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure is you've made the most out of graduate students and transfers again this year. Julia Lees is an unbelievable player. When you guys have a lead, I feel like, you guys are great at killing games. But this year you have Breon Riley. It's almost like you have two Julia Lees back there. I don't want to put too much pressure or competition between them, but she's also a fantastic center back. I believe she was all league at UCLA as well.
Yeah.
So,
and she was Big East Defensive Player of the Tournament. She was second team all conference just because I think people wanted to vote out and even out the awards, but really she was first team all conference in my mind. She's been exceptional on and off the field. She's been an incredible pickup. We were lucky we were able to get her to start in the spring, so she had all spring to settle in with us. We were also fortunate in the springtime. We took an international trip. We went over to Italy, played 4 games while we were over there. So she got to play those 4 extra games. The fact that we were 10 days on the road really meant that she could settle in with the group really well. And she's been exceptional, an exceptional addition to the team on and off the field. The worry when you pick up players who come from top programs, and we had this before with Kira Carusa, who had won the national championship with Stanford, and Bree had run the national championship with UCLA. The worry is they come to you and they're constantly pointing out, oh, at UCLA we did this, and at Stanford we did that. But these kids were the opposite. They were like a breath of fresh air. They were, both of them were such positive kids. They had our players' respect because of their ability on the field, and they also had our players' respect because of the success they had. So those kids came in very quickly and were able to lead or help lead our team. So both of them were great players. Actually, I just was talking to Kira this morning because it's her birthday. So both of those kids really came in and settled in very quickly and raised the level on the field. So no, it's been great.
Yeah, and you have a couple other graduate students, Emma Davis, who's her goal last year was the one that first got my attention of Georgetown. She's had another great year. She's really come on strong, especially in the end. You also had, you mentioned Allie Winstanley. I think I got her name right. She's from Dartmouth, and also you have Grace
Sherman.
Grace Sherman,
also from Princeton. Yeah.
And then undergrad, you had Shay Montgomery from USC come up. So you're able to restock. You lost Gia Vicari in the two Mayas, what gave you a lot of trickery up front, but you're able to really restock with a lot of really solid, good players in your lineup.
Yeah, in particular, we've done very well with the Ivy League kids. I mean, the fifth year limitations on Ivy League students are very complicated, and it almost makes it where for the kids, it doesn't make sense for them to try and find and do their fifth year. And for some of them, they're looking for change of pace, so we're very fortunate in that we're academically a similar type school where the kids can come get a good master's program, and two, a change of pace, playing with different soccer people, playing a different schedule, playing with a different coach, hearing a different voice. We're very fortunate that we're able to pick up some kids like that. And then on occasion, we'll get a kid coming from out of the Ivy ranks, like Bree at UCLA, and like Daisy Cleverly, who came from Cal, or Caitlin Purcells, who came from Santa Clara. So it's funny, I don't want to call him the well-known soccer aficionado, but Chris Henderson, who's a big advocate for the women's game, the women's college game, and does a lot of good work, just digging deep behind the scenes for programs and histories and tournaments and games and statistics. He actually has adopted the moniker of us of grad transfer U. That's how he refers to us, grad transfer U, which is kind of funny because we don't typically do a lot of undergraduate transfers in or out, but we have done well with the fifth years, and right now I'm working on a couple of exciting ones for next year too.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be exciting to see, because I'm sure, everyone's going to be shooting for you guys as well. So Coach, one thing I wanted to ask you: does the COVID rule, is it going to change this? So
this is the last year. This upcoming, the current senior class, this will be the last year for COVID to be a fifth year year for kids. So after that, for 25, it's just going to be more of your traditional kid who's unfortunately lost a year of their college through an injury.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to work. Okay, Coach, you mentioned St. Louis as a matchup, and again, and you're right. Their last 8 or 9 games, they've won so easily.
Yes.
When you're preparing for a game like this, and you're in a dogfight in knockout, would you rather have had 7 ties and lots of close games? I think you guys have given up the first goal in 4 or 5 games. So you're used to having to get back into a game and win the game, whereas things have come a little bit easier from them. Doesn't in some ways that give you an advantage going into this game because you guys are used to a dogfight?
I mean, yeah, that is one way of looking at it. I'm sure their coach will be looking at it different. She'll be kind of saying, she'll be reminding her kids how well they've done taking care of every challenge that has come their way. Interesting side note is actually their coach, Katie Shields, is somebody I recruited here to Georgetown 20 years ago. She turned me down for Harvard, the idiot. No, she's a great girl, and I've known her a long time, and she's done an exceptional job. The St. Louis women's soccer program is one of the top 20 programs in the country, very similar to us, very similar to us. And it's great to see so many what people may consider mid-major athletic departments. Like the Ivy sent 4 teams to the NCAA this year. All 4 of them are ranked in the top 25. So then you'll throw in us, you'll throw in Xavier from our conference, you'll throw in Santa Clara from the West Coast Conference, and you throw in, obviously, St. Louis. You've got 7 so-called mid-majors in the top 25. So it's great to see. There's life beyond those labels of Power 5,
Yeah. St. Louis is an interesting area of the country where they were playing soccer a long time ago, like in the 50s and stuff. Some areas of the country, soccer came late. I mean, DC was relatively early, but St. Louis, Washington University, they were playing soccer a long time ago. Now you mentioned their firepower. Let me see if I get these names like Emily Gabby with 15 goals.
Emily Gaby is one.
Caroline Kelly.
Caroline Kelly is another one.
And Hannah
Hannah Sawyer. There's another. I think Hannah Larson.
Yeah, Larson. Yeah.
All four kids have kept me awake at night.
Yeah. So when you're preparing for a game, so my son played over here at Yorktown with some of your with Evelyn and Shay. He played on the boys team, but anyway, his coach would never acknowledge the firepower on the other team. He had a brilliant coach, Carlos Aranda. He actually had played on the national team of Paraguay and futsal and soccer, just brilliant soccer mind. But he would never acknowledge the firepower on that team. He would expect the players to figure it out, and he'd put you in a lineup where you'd be able to stop them or attack them or whatever. How do you deal with teams that have such attacking power? Do you want your players to really know where they are, or how do you start off the game?
You have to. I mean, really, you're doing yourself a disservice. You certainly don't want to make it in such a way that your team is terrified of playing, or your players are terrified of individual players. But you got to give them certain things to think about. If it's a player that's 1 foot dominant, if it's a player that just likes to run in behind, if it's a player that's more comfortable posting up. So we'll go through some clips on each of those kids, and we'll show them to our kids. And yeah, I think if you were to ask any good player, any serious soccer player, they would rather have more information than just technically go out there and try and wing it. I think that's a lazy coach if you do that.
Richard, well, last week's game was probably, my guess, without knowing, is one of your favorite weeks to coach, because you have all week to get ready for one game. And the college soccer season is so compressed. I mean, you're constantly getting 2 games a week, you're traveling, the kids are in school. It's very tough time. Last week, you had one game to get ready for, his home, so you could really build yourself, get your team ready. This week, you have 2 games. Now, you have to focus on St. Louis, because if you don't get by St. Louis, it doesn't make a lot of sense to worry about who you play next. Absolutely. But do you have any kind of eye on the second game, or you will completely cross that bridge when you come to it? Once you get by Saturday's game, that's when you start thinking about the round of 16.
Well, I'll probably have each of my assistants put together get a first look at both the teams in the other bracket, in Santa Clara and Penn State, but we're familiar with both of them. We played Penn State in preseason. We played in the last spring. We've played Santa Clara twice, I think, in the last 5 years. And, Jerry is an exceptional coach, and his teams have all Jerry's characteristics. But we will have a look. It's a quick turnaround. It's kind of funny how all season we've been going through a Thursday, Sunday routine. Now you get to the end of the year when everybody's running on fumes anyway, and then you push it to a Friday, Sunday turnaround. It is a very quick turnaround.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry if I said Saturday. I meant the game is on Friday. Don't want folks to be a day late on my account. So Coach, your record last year was almost the exact same as this year. It's amazing. You're 13 wins, one loss, and 7 ties this year. 6-0-4, undefeated in the Big East. Last year you were 15-1-5 coming into this game, and 8-0-2 in the Big East, no losses. It's amazing how similar the records are. Are the teams very similar? How I remember last year's team playing quite differently, even though the result has been quite the same.
Yeah, we're boringly consistent. I think really what you do is, I mean, every team forms a different playing identity, and it's usually based on the personnel of your players. But I think, one of the things we have this year, I feel we're a little bit more of a winger team with our wide players becoming a far more prominent part of our attack. Last year, coming through midfield with Maya Fernandez, Powell, and with Gia playing more central. I felt last year we were a little bit more up the middle. But this year, when you've got such physically gifted athletes out wide, for us to have our best chance to be success, you got to make sure your better players get the ball in dangerous spots. So we're very comfortable going out wide to any of the three kids that play out there: Maya Lardner, Natalie Means, or Ali Winstanley.
Yeah. I also think one of the biggest differences of last year is you have two great goalies. You have Ali Auger, who was first team All Big East, and you have Kara Martin, who's been in the national pool. She's a local player, so I know her really well. Both of them do a phenomenal job. Ali is seen to be the preferred choice this year. Is that one of those things where you just kind of let that evolve and see what happens when you have two good goalies like that?
You can't put a price on experience. I think what you find in no position other than goalkeeper is experience is everything. And you'll even see on the men's side, the best goalkeepers hit their peak on the men's side when they're 32, 33. On the field player side, it's when they're 27, 28, because ultimately goalkeeping mistakes lead to goals. So the more experience you have of making decisions, the less chance you have of making mistakes. So Ali's just an exceptional goalkeeper. I mean, Cara did a great job for us last year when she filled in when Ali was hurt at the start of the year. This year, Cara jumped in and filled in for us for 3 games when Ali was out earlier in the year. But hopefully by training every day and by seeing how Ali prepares, how Ali trains, what Ali does on the field, that will help Cara to become a better goalkeeper. So when it's her turn, she should be able to step up and be ready.
Yeah. Well, Coach, last year you told me that you were probably on your back 9 in terms of coaching.
Yeah.
Transfer portal, NIL, the game has gotten so complicated. But when I was watching you do your thing last week, you seem to be still enjoying it, still into it. Do these tournament runs, these cup runs, do they energize you? Does it make you want to do this for much longer, or does it wear you out?
No, what makes me want to go much longer is seeing the smiles on faces after a significant win. Like when we won the Big East, just to see the happiness and excitement on the kids celebrating their moments, because you see how hard they work and the sacrifices they make. I don't think people not in college athletics understand the sacrifices student athletes make. It's incredible the sacrifices they make. And in some ways it's taken for granted. In some ways they don't get enough credit for it. And in some ways they don't get enough respect for it. But the sacrifices they make on and off the field are huge. And I wish all student athletes were appreciated, not just the ones who win. So when I see the reactions of the kids after we won the Big East or after we got through, Saturday's game against Old Dominion, that's what keeps you coming back. Mm-hmm. It's the other stuff that makes you kind of question your sanity and go, why on earth am I still doing this? So as long as it's fun for me, I'll keep doing it. In some ways, I don't see what else I could do. You can only play golf so many times a week. But I still do enjoy it. I enjoy working with my staff and I enjoy working with the kids we have. But, I've been very fortunate. We get really good kids here. It's rare you'll have a problematic kid. And And I think the culture is such that we weed out those kids in the recruiting process, and no matter their ability, if we feel there's a red flag with them, we'll walk past a kid because of the kid or because of the parent. So we only want to bring in good kids, and we've been very fortunate in that. And in particular, even with our 6-year kids, every one of them has been absolutely, spectacular as a human being. So yeah, as long as I keep having that fun, I'll keep coming back. So I'm probably maybe on. I've turned the back 9. I'm probably on maybe around the 11th or 12th. I'm probably coming up to a par 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I still have a little bit of juice in me.
And you're in a proper links course, like any good Irish.
Oh
like
yeah,
good Irish.
a real links course. Yeah,
Yeah.
not these cushy parkland courses that you guys play over here.
Exactly. Yeah. I did want to give you a chance to shout out your assistant coaches. I watch them, and I'm sorry I don't know their names. There's a woman that's really engaged, and there's a guy that helps you warm up the players on the sideline who really goes beyond above. I feel like you have a really good staff, and I wish I knew their names, but I wanted to give you a chance to shout them out
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, and Naomi Myburger, and Cameron Fertenbaugh, Naomi's been with me on and off now almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, technically she's my common law wife. She's entitled to 10th of everything, and she loves to remind me of that. And then Cam, this is Cam's first year with us. He replaced Rick Stainton, who took the head coaching job up at UNBC. And then I think the chap you were talking about is our performance coach,
Yeah.
TJ. So TJ Aronson is his name. So he's been with us now, and we're very fortunate in that we have a full-time performance coach who only works with us. He doesn't work with any other team, just us. So he has a lot of responsibilities. He's not just what you would consider a strength coach or a lifting coach. He does a lot more than that. He tracks all our fitness, he tracks our workload in games and in practice. He helps me plan our practices in terms of, how hard we need a practice to be on a certain day. He does all our warm-ups, all our cool down. He works with our nutritionalist. So he's very hands-on in our program. It's great for me because that's a part of the job I can kind of hand over to him and not have to worry about doing stuff, So yeah, and then our trainer, Maddie. So we're very fortunate. We've got really good people who care as much about the kids as I do, and there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, ultimately, we can't all retire to $1 million homes in the Bahamas off college coaches' salaries. So if your motivation getting out of bed is just to make money, you'll be disappointed. But if your motivation is to have even a small part in someone's college experience or in someone's life, for the positive, that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. Is to try and help these kids again, enhance their college experience here at Georgetown on and off the field. That's what gets you out of bed.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do a fantastic job. Anyone who wants to see good soccer, come watch the Georgetown women, and also the men play. But I also want to say, last thing, Coach, is Shaw Field is an amazing venue to watch a soccer game. And the reason why is ordinarily when you go to a game, there might be a track in between where you sit and you watch. Shaw Field, you are right behind the players, right on the field, right next to the opposing fans. And there was a huge crowd there against Old Dominion. What is Shaw Field meant to you? Is that a nice big advantage for the Hoyas?
Oh, I think any players for us or our men's program that has played on Shaw Field loves to play on the field. I mean, although the Bermuda grass has gone a little bit dormant now as we go later in this, into winter, it's a great surface to play on. It's a very picturesque kind of venue, and we're always trying to improve it. We're getting floodlights. We're hoping to have them in for this fall. Probably won't happen because of DC and permits and all that goes with that. But lights are coming, which will give us an opportunity to play night games, which is going to be incredible. I mean, our men's team regularly pack out, 3,000 on big games. So if you put that under lights, it's going to be phenomenal. And I think us playing under the lights as well will help us to attract a bigger market as well and get a bigger fan base. Because during the day, college kids are taking classes, so if you can get a night game when there's not much going on, you may be able to get college kids to come up and surround Shaw, which is kind of the moniker that we use, and trying to get enough fans that they overflow the stands, and we just have them around the field. So, it's a great venue to play. We're very lucky.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting night games. And also about the venue, you have buildings surrounded to cut down the wind a little bit, which I'm sure that some of the soccer players can appreciate that a bit as well. But look, Coach, I appreciate you always willing to come on and talk to me. You're a great guy to talk to. Do an amazing job. I love watching your team play. So I hope you guys can win too. Is there a chance if you can escape that there'll be another home game before the season's over? Or is that unlikely?
There's a chance. There's a chance. It would need us to get through this weekend and Clemson to lose.
Okay.
Because Clemson are the number 1 seed in our bracket. So technically they should be hosting the quarterfinal game or the Elite 8 game. So if we can get through this weekend, which won't be bloody easy, if we can get through that and Clemson slip up, then we would host the Elite 8 game.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'll let you take one game at a time. I won't make you look too far
That's
ahead.
all I'm worried about. Right now, I'm worried about the Billikens.
Exactly. So anyway, Coach, again, this has been great. Best of luck this week. Tell us what time the game is on Friday.
Game is at 3 p.m. It will be streamed free of charge on ESPN Plus. Okay. And you can pick up the link on our website or on our Twitter feed. One thing the NCAA does a real good job of is insisting that all the NCAA tournament games are streamed free and made available to anybody. So that's a big plus.
Awesome. Well, I'll also leave those in the comment section below so folks can find it as well. So anyway, Coach, again, this has been great. Good luck, and hopefully I'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks, Julian.
Okay, Coach. Enjoyed it.
Have a good day.
You too, buddy. Bye-bye.